Namaste and welcome to the 52nd episode of UPSC Prep Decoded, a podcast brought to you by Abhyankar's IAS so that you can study on the go. I, Khushi Bola, am your host for today and we're in conversation with Mr. Aashay Abhyankar and Sneha Bhatt. Sneha, a Shiv Chhatrapati awardee, is a human movement scientist with a specialization in sports psychology and is a professional taekwondo player who has represented our country at various international platforms. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am and sir. Our topic today revolves around re-innovation of sports through policy intervention. As we were discussing, ma'am, India's performance at the Tokyo Olympics 2022 and the Commonwealth Games of 2022 has been appreciated worldwide. Keeping that in mind, how viable do you think is sports as a career option for the youth of India today?
So when we started playing as athletes, we always had to had a secondary option. So there was sport wasn't considered as a primary career option. So the other option that you had to pursue a career in sports was to become a coach. But as you mentioned, India's recent performance at the Tokyo Olympic Games and the Commonwealth Games, there are a lot of new avenues that have opened up in the field of sports. So to name some of the very commonly known avenues are being a sports commentator or a sports analyst. But to tap on some of the unknown avenues, we can say that you can become a sports psychologist or a strength and conditioning professional. So I would like to ask sir, how will you institutionalize these avenues through a policy point of view?
Right. Thanks so much, Sneha. I'm so glad that you could make it and be a part of our podcast series today. So, you see the question that Khushi has asked you, and probably if I have to elaborate a little bit more, if you ideally look at the sports scenario in India, we look at our traditional Indian sports going back to the time of the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. And these are sports that India has actually given the world. So if you look at sports like Kho-Kho, Kabaddi, etc., they were completely sidelined because sports was never a career option. Now this is very important for a country like India because let's just delve into the statistics for a bit. So if you see, we have approximately about 2% of India's population that only plays sports. Now in a population of 1.4 billion people, that's very, very minuscule as a number. Also, just to take off from where you mentioned about the Commonwealth Games success, so India, to my knowledge, got its first Olympic medal in 1948. And here we are in the Commonwealth Games completely slaying it. So a lot of this has got to do with, one, the commercialization of sports that is happening through a huge intervention of public-private partnerships. To give you a little bit of an example, if you look at the Indian Premier League, which is the major cricketing platform which brings in global players from all over, you're looking at a commercial value of about $5 billion, in terms of its entire portfolio wealth. And to take this a little bit further, if we are able to look at operationalizing the government policies. Now, Khelo India is one of the best platforms that the government can provide. And I would say that this platform is good for multiple reasons. One very important reason of this platform is that you're able to commercialize sports. Secondly, you're able to operationalize sports in the far-flung areas of this country where you have huge sporting talent that is completely gone untapped. For example, the Northeast, the island states, and also certain areas that were geographically disconnected to the mainland of this country. The second factor is that Khelo India is an intervention that happens at school level. This is exactly where the honing of talent, budding of the talent, beginning of the talent, and sharpening the talent is exactly what is required. You being a sports person yourself would completely concur with that, right? Yeah. So you have a large chunk of people who are tapped into sports much later when their sporting shelf life, as I would want to say it, completely shuts down on themselves. So Khelo India initiative, better infrastructure that the government is building. Today, when you as a sports athlete would also agree to that when you go around for sporting tournaments today, and just the general infrastructure that you have is brilliant. Also, one thing that Khelo India is doing, which is very important, is that it is blurring the gender lines in sports. So we are having the Indian team, which is represented both by men and by women, whether it be in Kho-Kho, whether it be in Kabaddi, whether it be in cricket, whether it be in badminton, whether you look at tennis. So you're seeing so much of intervention of sports, right? So I do believe that systems like the Khelo India, the recognition of sports persons, right? The discussion and management of them through private entrepreneurship and private models, I think this is going to go a really, really long way.
In light of the national anti-doping bill that has been introduced in the Lok Sabha recently, of course with the objective of highlighting the harmful effect of these performance-enhancing drugs, I'll just read out a few statistics. India was ranked third according to the World Anti-Doping Agency report of 2021. Additionally, as of October 2022, we saw 62 Indian athletes that were either caught doping or in possession of these banned substances. This makes us second to Russia when it comes to doping violations around the world. In this current scenario, how effective do you think this bill would be?
So I'd say this is a very positive step in creating awareness about doping in the minds of the athletes. And as you mentioned about the statistics, this is the need of the hour. And I'd like to ask sir this question. Sir, how do you think the implementation of this anti-doping bill will happen? Because in my personal experience, I've seen some of the coaches encourage their athletes to use the performance-enhancing drugs to get the desired results.
This is a very pertinent question, Sneha, and like you are from the sports field yourself, and what you're mentioning is something that I completely agree with. This will happen only through awareness, right? Because at the rural level, at the local level, in local championships and sporting competitions, many a times it is the coaches and the mentors who actually encourage the use of certain performance enhancers. So I'm completely in agreement with you when you say that having a complete full stop to this is not easy because of the multiplicity of stakeholders and the inadequacy of information and knowledge that is available. So I believe that if you are able to create better awareness, talk about what the shortcomings of doping could be in terms of disqualification, getting blacklisted, not being able to compete at national and international forums. So awareness is definitely the key forward. Because if you try any kind of enforcement or repressive measures, they will really not work in the long run.
So speaking of awareness, in general, post the pandemic, our awareness about physical health and mental health has been increasing. When it comes to students who are preparing for competitive examination, how important is this sync of physical health and mental health?
This is a fabulous question, Khushi, because whenever I talk about sports, I believe that a sportsman and a UPSC aspirant is one and the same. Now you would ask me why, and the issue is that sports teaches you you can fail, and you can still succeed. There is a never give it up attitude. It's do or die, and more importantly, it gives you a go-getter spirit. And I believe that all sportsmen are potential and good UPSC aspirants, right? That is purely because these values that are inculcated in you, they are fabulous on multiple fronts. So if you see a large chunk of sports persons after active sporting activities, they come to a great use of the nation because these are the very values, the very attributes, the very virtues that create a very undying spirit of nationalism. So today, if you look at P.T. Usha's appointment to the Olympic Association, is a very good example of the fact that this do or die attitude, the attitude of never giving up, continuously failing and failing till you can succeed, and just being out there with a go-getter and a fighter kind of attitude is exactly the spirit that we are looking out for UPSC aspirants to build nationalism and to just be of service to this nation. So I believe that this is something that sports has always mentioned. Perhaps it has got slightly more enhanced post the COVID because everybody fears life, but very, very few people actually live it. So that's pretty much how it works.
Thank you so much, sir. Ma'am, since we have you here, can you please tell us some quick ways to maintain a basic healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's pretty easy for an individual to maintain a healthy lifestyle. All you need to remember is 40 to 45 minutes of daily physical activity, eating healthy, eating 2 fruits a day, focusing on the quantity of your food, also the quality, hydrating yourself well enough, having 2 to 2.5 liters of water a day, and having 6 to 7 hours sleep, minimum of 6 to 7 hours of sleep. And you can also refer to the reel that we've made before.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That gives the listeners and myself lots to reflect upon and makes for a great talking point for our upcoming podcast. Extremely thankful for you, sir, and ma'am, again, for removing time out of your schedule. Can't wait to decode more topics with you all. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this podcast, do like, share, and subscribe. Your feedbacks and suggestions are always welcome. You can contact us through info@abhyankarias.com. Show us some love on our Instagram, Twitter and Facebook handles that go by the name Abhyankar's IAS. Keep listening and stay tuned for more.